Okay, so B'ez Hashem, today we're going to learn halacha l'maisa for doctors, future doctors today, regarding how a doctor has to deal with patients, whatever has to do with the fast of Yom Kippur. So B'ez Hashem, that is going to be the topic that we're going to talk. Before I start, I think it's very, very important to learn this Orach Chaim, because this Orach Chaim is nogea also for Yom Kippur, and it's nogea for every medical physician, nurse, anyone that is in the medical home has to know this Orach Chaim and to learn, and it should be part of him to understand it. Very, very, very important. So this Orach Chaim goes on the pasuk in Parshas Kisi. So aches shapsoisai tishmoru ani Hashem Elokeichem. The Orach Chaim says here in the third line, he comes to explain the word ach. Ach es shapsoisai tishmoru. Ach is referring to what? Ach bo lemait. Ach comes to tell me, right? To be memait, to say Shabbos, but there is less than that. What does that mean? That will be understood according to what the Rabbanim said. There is a halacha that you're allowed to be mechal Shabbos for a choyle that is in danger. Any type of danger, that is hinted in what he's saying. Ach et shabtotai. What does that mean? Ach pirush yesh metziut. There is some times she'en lecha lishmor Shabbat, meaning a person has to keep Shabbos, but there is times that the circumstance necessitate. Tell me that I won't be shomer Shabbos. V'digdek be'omro, and also it's precise in the words es shabtotai. The word shabtotai is what? Plural. It doesn't say Shabbos. It says shabtotai. Lichlol kol hanikra Shabbat, to include anything that is considered Shabbos. What is that? Bein Shabbos bereishis. Okay, that is what? Every Shabbos. Ben Yom HaKippurim. Okay, including also Yom HaKippur. Everybody knows that Yom Kippur is considered to be what? Yom Shabbos Shabbosoin, right? So that is also considered to be a Shabbos. Ben Shar HaMoadot, also all the festivals, all the Yomim Tovim. Lemelachot Asurot Bahem. So it comes to teach me that Aches Shabtotai Tishmo, you have to keep all the different Shabbotot. Gam lerabot, another thing, afilu Shabbat achal Shabbat. A lot of times I have a situation that I have to keep Shabbos, and I have to be, in this case, we call it Chilul Shabbos. Okay, not only one Shabbos, two Shabbos. Unfortunately, you go in the hospital and you see patients a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, right? We don't know. Okay, if you go into internal medicine, right, you see people there for weeks and weeks and weeks. So that means that what there were Mechal Shabbos for them, one Shabbos, second Shabbos, you have to know. There's no such thing. There's no difference if he came 10 minutes ago or he's here already for 5 Shabbosos. Im adainu mesukan, if this person is in danger, lo yomar adam kvar chilalti alav Shabbat echad. A person should not say, I was mechalel Shabbos. You're allowed to do that until this person is out of the sakana. Another thing, says the Orach Chaim, is hinted here. If the doctors say that this person this patient is sick, and he needs some type of medical procedure or some type of medical plan, this plan goes for 8 days. You have a patient that is in the emergency room. So we know that he has to go through some type of procedure. So one would say, maybe let's wait for, in 2 hours, Shabbos is out. Okay, and we know that this is an 8-hour procedure, so we'll start it in 2 hours. And like this, we'll only have one Shabbos, L'chura Chilul Shabbos, and not 2 Shabboses. We don't say that. En omrim, shelo echalel al Shabbat echad, ela yaseh miyad, do it right away. Af al pi shemechalim bei Shabboses ad kan, ve'omro achet Shabtotai. Meaning, not every Shabbos should be kept. There is Shabbosais that won't be kept. But what is the explanation? Look at this, Rabbi Sai. Let me explain to you, you know why you have to be Mechal Shabbos on this patient. This is not considered to be Chilul. Chilul, right? A lot of times I go and I hear from doctors, rabbis, we speak, we talk, and people tell me, oh, this Shabbos I was Mechal Shabbos, I did this, I did that. And I tell them, the Or Chaim says, and ze karui chilul. Adarabah, ze karui shmirat Shabbat. This is considered Shmira Shabbos. How could that be? At least maybe it's not chilul, but why is it Shmira Shabbos? So he explains, Chalel alav Shabbat achat kedei sheishmor Shabbatot arbe. There is a halacha, we know. The Gemara Maseches Yuma, the Gemara tells us that Chazal asked, how do we know that Pikuach Nefesh is Doiche Kol HaTorah Kula? And the Gemara brings there a source of what? Of Echai Bohem Veloy Shiyamus Bohem, Pikuach Nefesh, the Torah was given to us to what? To live. And if Chas V'Shalom, keeping the Torah will put someone in danger, Echai Bohem Veloy Shiyamus Bohem. But then the Gemara brings another source. And the Gemara brings a source of what? Of Chalel alav Shabbat achat kedei sheishmor Shabbatot arbe. And that sounds like a plan. Meaning, it's worth it for you to be Mechal this Shabbos, because if you save him now, so this person will keep a lot of Shabbos, because if you won't save him, his life will be in danger, and then what? We'll lose another Jew from keeping Shabbos. So what is the explanation of that? So he says like this, Shimru Shabbatot arbe al yedei shetaseh miut shmira bahem. If you diminish the shmira this Shabbos, umetziut hadavar hu lechalel Shabbat al hachole, and the way it appears to us, the Metzias is that it appears like Chilul Shabbos. Shebazeh ata mechalel Shabbat achat. How many Shabbat you're going to, in case of one or a few, but whatever. But if that will bring him to live, so you'll have a lot of Shabbatot arbe. Ve'en omrim bazeh. Okay, I'll skip this because it's less nogea. Al zeh en omrim lo chateh. Aval chole. Look at this, the last 2 lines. Aval chole amra Torah chalel alav. Afilu David Melech Yisrael. But if you have a choyle, the Torah tells you, Chalel alav Shabbat. Even David Melech Yisrael. Means damen adavar. Meaning as choshev as you are. Means damen adavar liado yechalel. You remember the Lashon of the Shulchan Aruch? The ones that learned, remember the Lashon of Shulchan Aruch? Al yedei gdoyle Yisrael. In certain situations, in Shin Chof Ches, we learn that we have to be Mechal Shabbos al yedei gdoyle Yisrael, meaning even David HaMelech. David HaMelech cannot say, let's give it to the residents to do, let's give it to, the junior doctors. No, even David HaMelech has to be Mechal Shabbos for this patient. If you think we finished the Or Chaim, we did not finish. The Or Chaim goes even more than that. Rabbi Yisai, after you learn this Or Chaim, you really understand the Metzias much better. And you should know that if you are not Mechal Shabbos, whenever you have to be Mechal Shabbos, so that is Mezalzel, that is a disgrace in Mitzvah Sakel Chas V'Sholom. V'gomar oimer ki ois hi beini ubeinechem. What is Shabbos? Shabbos is an oath between me and Klal Yisrael, meaning HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Klal Yisrael. Pirush. V'im kein. So now he says very simple. Im kein. Im en shomer and Shabbos. Chas v'sholom. Just imagine to yourself, if we lose a patient because of Shmira Shabbos, that means that there is less one shomer Shabbat. There's one person less. En shomer and Shabbat. Meaning, what is Shabbos? Shabbos is not a day of the week. Shabbos is where does Shabbos come? And it comes out by the fact that there is Shomer Shabbos. So if there's no Shomer, there's no Shabbos. So one would say there's enough Shomer Shabbos, Chas v'Sholem. Ve'omru ladas, kan itchakem Hashem lo'odia. Here comes Hashem and tells us with our great wisdom to understand lo'odia. Shekdushas nefesh Yisrael gdoilo b'kedushas haShabbos. You should know that the kedusha of every Jew is greater than kedushas haShabbos. Shezeh nitche mipnei zeh, because kedushas haShabbos is pushed away for kedushas Yisrael. V'davar pashutu, and this is simple. Shakatanu anitche mipnei agadol, meaning he wants to say this is a greater thing, and that's why, obviously, we always go right. The smaller thing is pushed from the greater thing. Vehu omro ladat pirush b'zeh, and this is the punchline of the whole thing. Pirush b'zeh ata yodea, ki ani Hashem mekadoshchem. How does the pasuk end? Ki ani Hashem, achat shabtotai tishmoru, ki ani Hashem mekadoshchem. What does that mean? Ki ani Hashem mekadoshchem. His gadal v'hiskadash shemoi izborach. What is our avodah? Rabbi say, what is our avodah in this world as Jews? To be mizgad, to be megadel, and Mekadesh Shmoi Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We ended with Orach Chaim. That is what we have to do as Jews. And I want to explain it a little bit more that you should understand what goes on here. The Orach Chaim is talking about Shabbos, but it's the same regarding Yom Kippurim. And I want to share with you, from my experience for years and years dealing with people, that you come and you tell them after that they fasted for 60 years, for 40 years, for 50 years, they fasted, and suddenly you come and you try to explain to them, Rabbi Isai, there's no way that this Yom Kippur, because of your medical condition, you could fast. But the person tells you, what are you talking about? You're a young guy, you don't understand anything. I fasted, I know my condition, and I know that you could do it. And what am I going to tell him? That the Gemara says that if the Choyle says that Yochel ani tun v'achzaso, the Gemara says that, meaning some type of, meaning the tun it means you're not your mind is not healthy. I can't tell that to the person. That's not going to convince him. So what do we tell him? We tell him, you have to understand that this is what the Torah tells you. This is your mitzvah. There's a letter that Shia Rebels sends to his mechutin that had to fast, and he tells him, you should know that your mitzvah this year is not to fast, and your mitzvah is so great as if you should be besimcha when you eat this Yom Kippur, as you're besimcha when you take your Dalit Binim, as you're besimcha when you're bekayim mitzvah of Yeshiva Sukkah. Now, on the other side, I want to explain also, you have to understand that there is people that don't understand the Kedusha of Yom Kippurim. And for example, I tell them, I understand it's very, very difficult, but the main mitzvah of Chamisha Inuyim that we have in Yom Kippur is to basically to fast. That's your main chiyuv, is to fast. If you go to shul, you won't be able to fast. So you know what you have to do? Pregnant woman, for example, if she has a problem with fasting, we tell her, your mitzvah is to stay in bed and not to go to shul. How could you tell me not to go to shul? Right? For the last who knows how many years I'm already going to shul. Yes, you shouldn't go to shul because that's your mitzvah. And it's the same thing. Either your mitzvah on one side is that we tell people that you have to know that your mitzvah is not to fast this year, and this is your ach eshab soisai tishmar, like we brought the Orach Chaim that explain, or we explain that this is your mitzvah now to fast, but you should know there is definitely in this, there is conditions that it's more important to fast than going to shul. We're going to talk about what are the halachas that every person that doesn't go to shul does have to do, but that we'll talk. Therefore, when there's a person that wants to be machmir on himself, the Brisker Rav used to say that's not considered to be a chumrah. Okay, the Brisker Rav used to say, you want to fast, so accept upon yourself the fast in mincha before, because for you, it's not a chiyuv. So it's a tainus rishus. A tainus rishus, one has to accept upon himself at the mincha before. That's the way the Brisker Rav used to tell people, to explain to them how important it is for you to fast. Not to fast, I'm sorry. And this is exactly the thing. And if you fast, I don't want to say chas v'shalom it's suicide, but this would be some type of the pasuk that we say of chas v'shalom, somebody that commits suicide. The pasuk that we use is achas dimchen nafsheseichem edrosh. You are diminishing from your blood, and you are not doing the right thing, because chas v'shalom, if you fast, so there may be a Jew that is less mekadesh and megadel shmoi shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu ba'olam, and that is the whole purpose that you have to do. The Aruch HaShulchan uses, in Siman Tov Reish Yud Ches and Aruch Chaim Sif Daled, the Aruch HaShulchan uses the lashon of mitzvah abo ba'aveira. That's also, if one wants to fast, you should know it's a mitzvah abo ba'aveira. And another thing, not only that it's a great mitzvah, you should use these lashonos. And I think, I'm telling you, Rabbis, I remember these things because this is important over the years. I'm sure it's going to come up, and you'll have patients that you have to talk to them like that and explain to them how much it's dangerous. And you have to tell them that you don't need any kapara. This eating, that is your mitzvah, and it's not chas v'shalom, it's a sin. No way. Okay? That is that. One could tell you, maybe this is a mistake. You have some mistake as a doctor. Let's have a second opinion. Then be smart and tell them, you know what? Let's have a second opinion. And by the way, in halacha, there's a few seifim and Shulchan Aruch and Tov Reish Yud Ches that talk about the status of a doctor, okay, of explaining the situation. And the doctor has the koyach of saying, it's a Gemara, but we paskin the halacha that if a doctor says you have to fast, and there's an argument between the doctor, for example, so we say that the doctor that let's say you have a doctor that is it's a senior doctor, right? But he's more a general doctor, and the younger doctor is his specialty is in the field where this person has a problem. So we follow, okay, the one that's his specialty. But the person has to understand. Is it important that the doctor should understand the chashivas of Yom Kippur? Yes, definitely. But I want to explain something. I'm sure every one of you, when you'll want to consult other people. And let's say you'll consult somebody that is in the field, okay, that is not even Jewish, but he's important and he knows his stuff and these things, okay? But not always people could understand. I'll give you an example. There is a rumor that says that Yom Kippur, on Motzei Yom Kippur, all the delivery rooms are full with women that come to have babies much more than every other day. That's a rumor. Nobody checked it. I'm saying nobody, and they always said that there's no way to check it, because if the ones that checked it on Arabs, it's not really, they also have fast days, but there it's Ramadan, and Ramadan is not one day. Okay, they have it a few days. But I heard from a group of doctors in Shaarei Tzedek that just did a serious research, and they told me, they're in the middle of the research, but they said one thing is clear that came out, okay, and they told me you could literally say it. Dr. Chen Sela, Dr. Michael Schimmel told me you could say clearly that it does not bring for any healthy, okay, woman that is pregnant, does not bring cause to have an early birth. I'm just bringing it as an example. There, you have to know and you have to understand. But you have to understand that a doctor that you're talking with him and you tell him, so yes, you have to feel out the doctor. Is he saying it because it's always easy to say don't fast? It's always easy to say it. And we know that there is halacha safek pikuach nefesh. We'll always go with some pikuach nefesh. But I want to explain something. As much as I quoted the Orach Chaim HaKadosh, but we all know, and we spoke about it last year, the concept of akal tchila. There is what's called shiurim, and we do shiurim. I don't understand. If we're talking about a choyle sheyesh sakana, soon we're going to see, we're talking about someone that is really sick. So if he's sick, he's potter from the fast. The answer is no. The fast of Yom Kippur is very, very chomer. And if he can be able to fast with, if he's able to fast with shiurim, and soon we'll talk about what does that mean. But if he's able to fast with shiurim, so in essence, that is the only way he's allowed to do it. That's what he's allowed to do it. And I'll explain. I'll go back to Shabbos just to explain. When we say that Chilul Shabbos is nitche, right? And that is the way the Ohr HaChaim explained why. Said the Ohr HaChaim because we won't allow Shabbos to put someone in danger. But if Shabbos is not putting someone in danger, because we have a solution. We have a solution of doing things. Before that, in Yom Kippur, we have a solution. And we'll give this person, what is the danger of this person? Not to dehydrate. If this person is going to drink shiurim, okay, that is 30 cc's water or juice or anything like that will give him even energy every 9 minutes. Okay, if he's able to do that, let's say he is a young person, okay, knows what he's doing, he will have close to 2 liters. He'll have more than 2 liters in 10 hours. So he'll have a good night's sleep. He'll start in the evening. He'll do it throughout the day. He'll have more than 2 liters. He'll be okay. If our whole concern is about him from his sickness, okay, to dehydrate. Just bringing as an example. So that's why we're saying, so you don't have that kula. The same thing here. If you know you're going to work on Shabbos and you're able, now on Shabbos, you don't have anything and you have to be Mechal Shabbos, do anything you have to do. But if you are in a plan before and you know that you're going to work on Shabbos and there is things that you could do before Shabbos to avoid Chil Shabbos, that's your chiyuv to do that because of a kalakal tchila. That is exactly the concept of a kalakal tchila. You understand? So on Yom Kippur it's shiurim, and on Shabbos is if you could cut the bandages before Shabbos. If you could get someone to drive you before, to organize someone to drive you and pick you up before Shabbos or something like that, if it's possible. Not always it's possible. Understand? I'm just saying, if it's possible, so that is your chiyuv to do it because of a kalakal tchila. The Gemara brings an example of a woman that has a craving, and a pregnant woman that has a craving on Yom Kippur and she wants to eat. Now we are going to continue. I'm sorry for this. Anyhow, another very important point that we have to explain to people, and that is the concept of that when you eat pochis mikashir, when you eat l'shiurim, you're not losing your fast, because when somebody loses the fast, it means when he ate a shiur, he was miyashiv daitoy, that is somebody that lost his fast. So that also could help him to understand that he is part of the misanim. As I said, shiurim is to eat. Drinking by itself is less than 30 cc's. Eating is between 35 and 40. If you're less than 40 cc, that's okay. Eating and drinking does not go together, meaning you could drink by itself and eat by itself, meaning the count of 9 minutes that we say between does not go. Everyone has his own count, but don't eat the drink together. But you could eat and finish eating and then drink and count in between. 9 minutes is the max you have to wait. If you see that this person he's sick and he needs less than that, in such a case, what you could do is you could go down to 2 minutes. So anywhere between that is better. Meaning if you think that 5 minutes, 5 minutes. If you think, but not less than 2 minutes. And now I want to explain something. And I want to explain the following. Shiurim as much as we want to be machmir shiurim, well, we have to understand that that is not suitable for everybody. There's people that are older people or people that are not as strong that you know that they could do shiurim. Shiurim is a torture. Shiurim is not easy to do shiurim. Shiurim is something that the person has to know. You know, you take a small drop and that's it. You can't drink anymore. So again, it's not an easy thing. And also the physician has to think of, can the patient handle this or not? When we talk about choyle, so choyle sheyesh b'sakana is anybody that has a sickness that the fasting could cause his sickness to become worse and to be a danger for his health. That is the Hagdara. So if you want to explain, okay, you want to consult a doctor that doesn't know what's Yom Kippur, that's what you have to tell him. We have, okay, the way we do it, we fast for 28 hours. Okay, we fast for 28 hours, 26 hours, whatever is it. You have to know, what do you think? With knowing his condition, would be this would be dangerous or not? If he says, I think it's dangerous, so let me ask you, what's the problem? The problem is eating, the problem is energy, the problem is dehydrate, right? You could dehydrate. What is the problem? And then if he says, for example, dehydrate, so here I could say, okay, I have a way how to get him liquid into his body in doing shiurim. Is that okay or not? A lot of times it could be just, a lot of times, most times it's okay. There is times that no, he needs to wash his body with a lot of, liquid. So that is what you have to ask the doctor. But even if it's but you have to explain to him. By us, a doctor will tell, listen, I don't think it's so bad. One day for him to fast, I don't think it's going to be so bad. But it may be, there's a chance that it's going to cause him a danger. So, in medicine, a doctor a lot of times takes a chance. And he says, worst comes to worst, we'll figure it out, right? In halacha, we say even a suffix sakana means a far sakana. We don't want to say, and we don't do that. Okay. The Stipler used to tell people to explain the doctor that suffix sakana means even 1/4 to 1,000. That's the way the Lashon he used to say. For example, there's people that go through chemo. They have types of cancer. They go through chemo. One of the problems during chemo, first of all, the person is very, very weak. And there also dehydration is very, very dangerous. Okay, so there, the chura person should not fast and not eat during the cycles of chemo. Okay, meaning the beginning point is that a person that goes through, that has a serious cancer and is during chemo, I'm saying in the cycle of 21 days, not to fast, even in between the 7 days or whatever that he has, not to fast at all. People that go through radiation, that's already a different understanding. You have to definitely ask the doctor and see what should you do. Okay, very important. Even if we do, for example, shiurim of drinking is enough. There's no difference if he drinks water or drinks something with energy, something juices or anything that has sugar. If he needs it, obviously we don't want to put his sugar in danger and start giving him, for example, grape juice, and then his sugar will be in danger. But if somebody that doesn't have a problem with that, with sugar, and he could handle that, so maybe that's even better. Give him that energy, and he'll be able to fast better. Yeah. Now let's continue. We'll continue like this. There is people that think that shiurim is a heter gomer. You should know shiurim is not a heter gomer. Shiurim is only a heter for someone that needs it. What happens if you have somebody that has to take a pill and he can't take it without water, meaning he could fast, but he cannot swallow. There's types of pill that a person, or has to do with the person, or it has to do with the type of pill. There's people that they could, and there's people that cannot, or because of the pill that cannot swallow the pill. So if you need to do it with water, there you should use water that is, they call it pogum in halacha. What does that mean, pogum? You should use water that is bitter water. So don't use salt, because then you'll be thirstier. But for example, very strong tea, there's not derech achila to drink strong tea. If you take chamomile tea and you use like 10 bags in a cup, okay, that in a half a liter, that is pretty strong, and that would be bitter enough for a person to drink a little bit in order for him to be able to drink. It's always important to have somebody, especially by older people, that is with the person that has to eat, l'shiur. Okay? It's very important to tell them. And I say it also. Husbands come to the Beis Saror of Yom Kippur and they say, my wife is pregnant, what should I do, with the fasting and everything? And I tell them, you know what? If your wife is okay and she feels, and the whole thing is because she's pregnant, and you have more children at home, listen, if you could get a babysitter to help her and to take care of the kids, that's the best. And your wife should be in bed the whole day. Air-conditioned room, it's hot these days. September, it's still hot, and she should be in bed, okay, get up only whatever she needs to. And if you don't have a babysitter, so you also don't go to shul, because she has to be able to fast. Meaning, again, as much as we're lenient, but we have to know also what is ikar and what is tafel, what's important, okay, and you have to know how to prioritize things. I said before, doctors. What doctor is Nemon? That's a whole halacha that you should look it up in Tov Reish Yud Ches, but I think we explained it more or less. Always a doctor that knows the patient, right? The family doctor is always very, very important to ask. He knows the patient. He knows what he goes through. That's very, very, very important. Another halacha, always think if drinking is enough, eating is enough, drinking and eating, think not always you have to give everything. One thing is very important, that eating disorders, don't think of shiur. Whatever you could get patients that have eating disorders to eat or drink, that's a bracha, and that is as it is, it's a big problem to get them to eat and drink, and therefore don't even think they shouldn't fast, and they shouldn't. And again, there you'll have a harder problem in explaining to them what's their mitzvah. That will be a harder problem to do that. Yes. Okay, so now that we spoke about different types of patients, and I didn't go into details of every patient, what's his, what are the things that he goes through and what are the different things, but that I'm leaving it up to the physicians to figure it out. But now, if the patient's, of somebody that doesn't have to fast. So first of all, you should know, Yom Kippur, even if it falls on Shabbos, you don't do Kiddush. So they don't have to do Kiddush. Now, if he eats bread, okay, if part of his eating is bread, so if it's a person that doesn't eat shiurim, he eats regular, so this person says of Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, he should wash his hand regularly, even though we're noyeg that on Yom Kippur, because of the Isser Rechitza, we only wash till here, right? But washing our hands for bread, we wash our hands regular, the whole hand. And the reason is because it's not a rechitza shel tainug. Okay, says Rav Shlomo Zalman, that's what we paskin lehalacha. But if this person does not, he eats only the shiurim, so also he washes his hand, and he makes a bracha rishayna, but in such a case, he doesn't make a bracha of al netilas yadayim, because al netilas yadayim will make only of achila, of kabetza, and more than that. Lechem Mishnah, so machlokes the ma'aser we're not knowing to do lechem Mishnah. Now, this is important. You do a bracha rishayna. Let's say somebody is drinking, okay? Every 2 minutes, every 9 minutes, whatever he has to do. But he drinks pachis mikashir, so he makes a bracha rishayna. I want to believe that this person keeps in one place most of the day, right? Going to the bathroom is not considered hesech hadas. He's in one place, and therefore he'll make only one bracha rishayna. But if, for example, he decides to go and he's able to do it, and the doctor allows him to go from mincha meila to the shul, okay, you weren't able to talk him out of that, and he wants that, and you think it's okay for him to do that, and he continues under his talis or on the side to drink, so he'll have to make a new bracha rishayna there. Okay, that's that. If a bracha achrona has to be kedei achilas pras, so only if it's kedei achilas pras, he makes a bracha achrona. Otherwise, he doesn't do. If he makes a bracha achrona, so or birkas hamazon, so he says ya'aleh v'yavoy. If it's Shabbos, he also adds ritzei. Okay, anyways, this is important. One more thing I want to add, and that is regarding taking medicines. Taking medicines, one should consult. A lot of times there is a way that a doctor could say, you could skip one day, it's not so bad. That is also an option that one could think about. But again, only with consulting the doctor, but as physicians, you have to think about maybe moving the time before, maybe playing around a day or two before. These are different things that physicians have to think about it and have to know these things. There is medicines that it's dangerous for a person not to take it on an empty stomach. So that is also something that you have to take in consideration. Bez Hashem will continue next time.